Welcome everyone, and thank you very much for joining this presentation. My name is Sky Humphreys, and I'm very honored to get to present our guest to you. Today we'll be hearing from the vivacious Ruth Rheingold Etten. I only met our guest a handful of times, and while she would not remember me, she left a powerful impression in our few meetings. As you'll see, she has a real generosity of spirit and is pretty irresistibly charming. Her charm is on full display here. It's a wonderful illustration of what seems to be her own personality, but also that spirit displayed by so many dancers and musicians of the swing era when discussing the dance and music of their youth. Whether swing dancing and music simply drew a special type of person at that time, or if there was something in the experience that nurtured a beatific aspect when discussing it later, I'm not sure, but I'm struck by a similar attitude in so many of our elders. Whatever the case, I think it's a spirit that many of us who've been similarly touched by swing music or swing dancing will recognize immediately, even if we don't have the grace to exhibit it ourselves. While we may not have the talent, proximity, or experience of Ruth, I think if you love Lindy Hop, you can't help but recognize the joy that was still lighting her up at the thought of wonderful dancing to amazing musicians all these years later. To give you a little bit of background, Ruth Rheingold frequented the Savoy Ballroom in the 1930s and was even tapped by Whitey to join his elite group of performers, Whitey's Lindy Hoppers. As she will recall in this interview, she performed at the famous Apollo Theater in Harlem alongside the peerless orchestras of Duke Ellington and Fletcher Henderson. This achievement was especially notable as her and her partner Harry Rosenberg were both white. While there were many white dancers who danced Lindy Hop in New York City and beyond, to be given a spot with Whitey's Lindy Hoppers as a white dancer was a very rare honor, and you'll see Ruth rightly proud of that achievement. Ruth's story here and in other interviews she gave opens a fascinating window onto the nature of integration at the Savoy, what it was like to be a white dancer at the Savoy, not just as a spectator or an occasional participant, a tourist, but someone who found a place alongside and a measure of acceptance among the best black Lindy Hoppers of all time at the home of Happy Feet. It's easy to be overly romantic or anachronistic about the meaning and nature of the integration that took place at the Savoy Ballroom. When hearing that all races could walk through the door of the Savoy and dance together, it's easy to conjure up utopian visions of racial harmony. As a scene, we are prone to indulging in that fantasy. Clearly, the Savoy was no utopia, but I think we're just as mistaken when we easily discount or dismiss the racial mixing that did occur there. Ruth's story is a fascinating one and helps illustrate some of the ways in which dancers at the Savoy did cross racial divides. That leads to the context of the filming of this interview. It was one of a series of interviews produced over a couple of days in New York City in 2006, in conjunction with an event celebrating the 80th anniversary of the opening of the Savoy Ballroom. The event was an attempt to bring together as many of the people who'd been connected to the ballroom over the years as possible, and celebrate them and the memory and legacy of the Savoy. The Houston Swing Dance Society, HSDS, and Swing Bud Films sponsored these interviews. The initial goal was to interview legacy Lindy Hoppers and capture an honest retelling of their individual stories, with a larger goal to create a documentary of these legendary dancers. The initial artistic board for this project was comprised of Tina Morales-Armstrong, Peter Strom, myself, Margaret Batichuk, and Elliot Donnelly, with a production crew of Buddy Steves, Roberto Pompidou, Steve Inskeep, and Kenneth Barrett. Also central to these interviews was the amazing work, dedication, and commitment of Terry Monahan, and of course all the incredible dancers who were willing to share their stories with us. I'm so thankful to Tina and her co-conspirators for including me in this project, and I'm so thankful that these interviews exist. I fear my inarticulateness and lack of experience means this interview and its peers open more interesting doors than they walk through. But to watch the gentleness and generosity with which our guest handles my clumsy, youthful interrogation is itself an illumination of her character. I hope you enjoy meeting Ruth Rheingold Etten. Take care.
My name is Ruth Etten. I am in love with dance, particularly the Lindy Hop. I've danced all my life, ever since I was a very little girl. Now that I'm an old lady, I don't do it anymore. Doesn't mean I love it any less. I would encourage the young folks to get out there and dance because it's wonderful. It gives you so much joy and so much freedom. It's a togetherness. I really don't know how to put it into words. It was just a wonderful time of my life, and I look back on it with real love. Just wish the Savoy was still here.
So maybe you could just tell me real quick where you grew up?
I grew up in Manhattan. I lived there until I was about 13, and then we moved to the Bronx. Lived there quite a while. Then when I was married, and I continued to live in the Bronx, and then we moved here. And I'm here for 40 years, and I love it, and I'm happy here. And what else can I tell you? I lost my husband a few years ago. I'm living alone now. But it's all right. You do what you can.
Nice. And how did you first encounter the Lindy Hop?
When I went to a dance that my brother took me to, I had never danced with boys before, but I seemed to love it as soon as I came in. The music is always what gets me. And some of the boys came over and asked me to dance, and pretty soon I was kind of a success. And then they said, gee, you seem to love to dance. Why don't you join us? We go to this place and this place. And I always would, because I love to dance. And then once someone said, you know, we go to the Savoy, and maybe you'd like to join us there. Well, that's what I did. Anything that had to do with dance, I was there. And the first time I went to the Savoy, a whole new world opened to me. The doors opened, Chick Webb was blasting away. Everyone was dancing. I didn't know where to look first. Can I ever do that? Never. Certainly not like they were doing it. But you know what? In a little while, believe it or not, I was doing it too, and I loved it. I look back on it with the whole experience with such affection. It's just love. I loved all dancing, but especially the Lindy Hop. When I stopped dancing, I thought I would try to teach dancing for a little while, but I didn't like that at all. Here I was coming from such wonderful dances, and all of a sudden, I was with people who had 2 left feet. And I had little patience, which is terrible, but I had little patience, and I had to leave. And so then after that, I just brought up my children, and I was a housekeeper. And I enjoyed that part of my life too. I was married for 60 years. It's a long time, and it was a good life. And now that I'm going to be 90 years old, I don't believe it. I've had a good life. I think I'm a happy person. What else could I ask for?
Great. And how did you first learn it? When you first started, did someone teach you, take you aside?
Nobody. No, I don't think anybody taught any of us how to dance. You just did it. It sounds foolish. You just did it. Nobody taught you. I don't know. First of all, we dance together. If you have a strong leader, and even if you're not exactly sure of what you're doing, that leader can move you into it. Now you're on your own completely. And so then maybe that made it a little easier for me. Get a couple of strong leaders and they move you into things, and then you watch and you want to learn so badly. First you think you'll never do it, but then you're doing it, and not too bad either. So that was it. But to say you were taught, I don't think there was one of us ever was taught how to dance. I could dance when I was 3 years old. Maybe not steps, but I was flying through the air and always smiling, always in love with anything that had to do with music and dance.
So is it music that really makes the dancing?
To me, it's the music. It's the music that gets you going. You may be sitting and you hear the music, you're up. So it starts with the music. And then, of course, it all falls into place. But for me, the music. Yeah. But I think it's true, you like to dance. How is it when you hear the music?
Yeah.
How would you feel if Count Basie was right there and you were right there? It inspires you. It's great. That's great.
And is Lindy Hop a black dance?
Is it a what?
Is it a black dance? Does it come out of the black community, or?
I would think it came out of the black community. I would think so. But there were so many white kids who were really good at it. The black kids will tell you the same thing. But I think what the white kids didn't have, the black kids were just, I don't know how to say it. When you watched them, you were excited. They were exciting, more so than the white kids, for me. It was very exciting watching them. They were born showmen. And maybe a little bit better than the white, but the white kids, a lot of them, they were pretty good. So.
So did you feel comfortable going up to the Savoy as a white person? I mean,
Oh, extremely. I say there was no jealousy amongst us. They were very nice to me. Remember, I was the only white kid there. Well, I mean, my partner, of course, was white. But no jealousy, whatever. All just a bunch of kids who loved to dance. Didn't matter white or whatever you were. It didn't enter into it. I don't know how it was for people who didn't dance, whether that would make a difference. But for us who did dance, it didn't matter one bit. We all had the same love. And that's it. We'd switch partners, but everybody was wonderful. It was a good time. Good time. I still listen to all my jazz records. I have them there. I have all the tapes of the Lindy Hoppers. Terry brings them for me. And when it's a little lonely in the house, I put one of those on, and pretty soon I'm sitting in my seat and I'm doing the shim sham. Love.
And what was it like when you first went to the Savoy? Maybe you could just tell me a little bit about the Savoy. I've never got to dance there or anything. I don't know very much about it. You could just describe what it was like.
It was a great place to go to. There was never any trouble there. You would think that with so many people that there might be, but there wasn't ever. They had some men, I guess you call them bouncers, and they were good at their job. If there ever was any bit of trouble, this I don't know for a fact, they were right there. It could never have lasted more than 30 seconds. They were gone. And so it was run beautifully. You needn't have worried about going up there. You know, there were no fights, there were no drinks, there was, you know, it was a great place to go to. Harmless, just a lot of fun for young people, a great place for young kids to go to. Go with other people who had your interests. And it was just wonderful. They made a mistake to throw it down, I think, because there are kids today who would go. But whatever.
When were you going up to the Savoy? When was this?
When did I go?
Yeah.
I think in 36.
36.
I think that's when I went in 1936. And there's no footage of us dancing because they would never take photographs of us when we were dancing, and they would never let us dance in the Harvest Moon Ball. They said, you're a professional. I said, but aren't we all? And we all were. We were, you know. They wouldn't let us dance. They never gave a reason. Frankie said he doesn't know the reason. He doesn't know who kept us out. Why they kept us out? A million ideas about why. I would have liked a shot at it. I would like to see how I danced then. There's nothing. Nothing. It didn't bother me then. I didn't even give it a thought. But now I'd like to see it. It's a little too late.
So you were on Whitey's Lindy Hoppers?
Yeah.
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 You could just tell me a little bit about that. How were you asked to be on?
Well, one time he approached the fellow I danced with. His name was Harry, and he was a wonderful dancer. And he said, "I would like you to be one of my Lindy Hoppers." Well, that was a great honor. Remember, I was 19, but he was 16, and none of us knew that he was that young. Well, can you imagine? That was such an honor for Whitey to ask a white kid to dance. So of course, he jumped at the opportunity. He said, "But if you want to dance for me, you have to dance with Ruthie, not the girl you're dancing with." Well, of course, he jumped at the idea. He would have left anybody. And so he approached me and said, Whitey wants us to dance for him. And of course, I felt the same way that he did. Such an honor. And that's how it is. We used to go to the Savoy in the afternoons while the big bands were practicing. Rehearsing is a better word. They didn't have to practice anymore. And then we would dance. We would rehearse there too, and often Whitey would come in, and if he had a new step, he would show it to us, and then we would do it. And then he had what he called a rehearsal hall across the street from the Savoy, and we would go there and dance. He had a record player and mirrors all around, and we would dance there to the music. And they said he was a hard taskmaster, but I didn't find him to be that. I thought he was easy and wonderful. But the other kids said he was hard on them. I don't know. And that's how we got started. And then we would work into his routines, where he always had 3 couples. And we would be in the center because I guess we were white. And then we'd dance at the Apollo with Duke Ellington, and once with Fletcher Henderson. And that was wonderful too. The whole experience, there was no downside to it. It was all fun and love and music, always the music.
So did you feel like part of the community in Harlem at the Savoy?
I did. I was friends with everybody. They were with me. People were very cordial, very polite. None of this stuff that you see is going on. Nothing like that. I said I would walk from the Savoy to 135th Street subway, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, by myself. Nobody ever bothered me. No one not even a remark. So things were a little different then. Better, certainly better.
Did you feel like that as a dancer that you connected with people there, and was that sort of part of it?
At the Savoy, I would say that would have to be true, yes. Yes. So they were a little proud of me because I was a white kid, and they always would say the white girl. And it was wonderful. We danced in the Lindy Hop contest on Saturday night, and it was always something to look forward to. It was a wonderful place. We're all very sad that they did that, and we don't even know the reason why. So,
yeah, how important was the Savoy? As a place, and to the dance.
Oh, very important, really. You think about it, kids were off the streets, had a wonderful place to go to, where everyone looked forward to going. You never wanted to leave, you never wanted to go home. It was wonderful, better than hanging out in the streets. And maybe they should have that today. The kids would have a place to go all the time. You could go every day. And that might be better.
And you say Lindy Hop was your favorite dance. What drew you to Lindy Hop in particular?
What is that?
You said you danced different dances, but Lindy Hop was your favorite?
Yes. Well,
why was that? What drew you to Lindy Hop in particular?
Why did I like that? I love the freedom of the Lindy Hop. I can't say that it's more beautiful. Any dance that's done well, really well, is beautiful to watch. We used to do the Peabody, and that was gorgeous. We did the foxtrot. Well, we did everything. we could do them all. But the Lindy, it had a certain life to it, a certain spark to the Lindy Hop, and that the other dances didn't have for me. But I loved them all, especially the Peabody. They don't even do it anymore. It was a beautiful, gorgeous dance. Fast footwork, beautiful. Just glide down that floor like a shot. Lovely, lovely. But Lindy, that was my thing. That was my best.
And do you think there's something special about dancing with a person? I mean, what's different? I mean, did you dance by yourself sometimes, or was it when you went to the Savoy? Was it all kind of dancing with?
Always together. I don't remember ever dancing alone, unless you mean the Shim Sham, where we all lined up. That was, but you wouldn't. That's not what you mean, I don't think.
Is there something special?
Could you guys repeat that part? I have a little technical.
What'd he say?
Oh, we
Just
just need to
repeat
repeat
that
that
part,
because
the last question.
Okay. All right. What time is it? We got like 15 minutes. Oh, we got.
The time goes so quickly.
I know.
Well, you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah. Maybe you could just tell me again, because I think we missed that last little part. Just about dancing by yourselves. Did you guys dance by yourselves at the Savoy, or was it always with a partner?
Always with a partner. Always. It's exciting when the two of you make it work out just like that, you know. And then you hug because it all went so well. And, you know, I never knew anything else. How can I have nothing to compare it to? They seem to be doing fine. They're hopping around, jumping around. They seem happy too. So I don't know. But
what was the Roseland like?
The
You said
what?
you danced at the Roseland as well.
different. Yeah, we used to dance. They had great music too. For me, it lacked the flavor of the Savoy. That was special. For me, it was special, I guess for all of us. But the Roseland was nice. It was a great place to dance. The music was great. It was different. For me, I can only speak for myself. It was not, for me, anywhere near going to the Savoy. That was an exciting, exciting thing. It was just wonderful.
Do you know what that difference was at all? I mean, do you know why they were different?
I don't know.
Why it felt different? No.
I don't know. I don't know. Do you think maybe because it was Harlem that made it exciting for me? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
And
But it was not the same. It was not the same. I wonder how the others feel about it. It was not the same for me.
did you dance other places as well?
Well, I danced at the Apollo, and that was nice too. Yeah.
What was that like?
Oh God, that was wonderful. The music and then the chorus girls and everybody there too. They were so nice to us. Really, really wonderful to us. Look, we were two young kids. We were pleasant. Not hoity-toity or anything. We loved what we were doing. We were pretty good at it. And they liked us. And we liked them. And to be with Duke Ellington, my God. We used to dance so much backstage I couldn't breathe by the time I got out. And then Fletcher Henderson, that music was great with Fletcher Henderson. He had a saxophonist in his band at that time who taught my brother to play the saxophone. Unfortunately, my brother never learned. But he used to come to our home to give my brother a lesson. He was famous, his name was Chu Berry, played the tenor sax. He used to come to my house every week for $1.25. We're going back along another world to give my brother a lesson. And the two of them would go into the other room, close the door, and his sound and my brother's sound. And when they'd finish, I'd say, play something for me. And he'd play 2 choruses of Honeysuckle Rose. And I would fly from the bed to the chair, from the chair. So when we got to the Apollo, he saw me. He said, "Ruthie, what are you doing here?" I said, "We're going to be here this week." Heaven. So when it was our turn to dance, you know how it is when you have three couples, that saxophone would blare out that we danced even harder. Yeah, Chewberry. He came to our house for $1.25 a lesson, and then my brother would drive him back to Harlem. That's a true story.
And for you, was there a difference between performing Lindy Hop and dancing just socially? I mean, did you make a distinction between those two things, or did they feel connected to you?
No, no. That's the way I danced all the time, in the house, on stage. No. No distinction.
So the performing kind of came out of the social dancing for you? Or?
Yeah, sure. Sure. One night he said, "Don't go home tonight." Whitey said, "Don't go home tonight." He didn't say why. The next thing we knew, we were on stage at the Apollo. It was Saturday night. I was scared then. I was nervous. I know I wasn't breathing well. I was, and but that was it. And so that was a pleasure. Those 2 weeks that we were there was wonderful, very nice. And so it was a whole love affair with the Apollo and with Savoy and with Smalls and with Harlem, and so Roseland couldn't fit into that category. There was a difference there for me, always for me. And if it was for me, I'm sure it was for the black kids. It was a lovely time. I hope you enjoy your dancing as much as I did. And I hope that so many years later, you can say all these wonderful things about it. So, to see how your life turns out with the dancing. Would you like to do it professionally?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm going to school and I'm studying sort of history as well.
Uh-huh.
But I do dancing as well, so I try and balance the two. And,
Well, I don't think you could make much of a living being a Lindy Hopper.
Right. I mean, how does it seems kind of striking that people like me can still do the dance today and enjoy it so much. I mean, do you have any sense of how that can be? How?
I think easily. You love to dance today the way I did then. So why should it be different? It's the same thing, the same love of it. And you're good at it, I have no doubt. It's wonderful.
What about following? Did you feel like that you could kind of express yourself as a follower, or did it feel constraining for you ever? Do you feel like
Following?
like in the dance, like being a follower instead of maybe a leader in the dance?
Being followed how? I don't get the question.
When you're dancing, like
Right.
that you were a follower instead of a leader. Did you guys?
No, I never wanted to be a leader.
But what is dancing about for you in terms of being a follower? Do you think about that at all?
No. No.
Right. And how did you eventually stop working with Whitey and the group?
Well, I decided. I mean, I would have gone on and on and on. I thought it's time to settle down, get married, and have a family, which is what I wanted. And I mean, the other kids really made a living at it. They used to travel, they used to go all over, but I never did that. My family would never have allowed me to do that. I couldn't do that. Not that he ever asked us, but I know the answer. I could never have gone. So they were into it and they made a living. I didn't. A Lindy Hop contest on a Saturday night, I think you got $10. We each had to share it and give Whitey his cut. It wasn't about the money. Even at the Apollo, I would have danced for nothing. It wasn't about the money at all. Just to dance.
Was it something you would have liked to have pursued more, like the other kids?
I might have, yes. He never asked us. I don't know why he never did. It's funny, I never thought about those things then. But now I find out that the other kids went here and they went there and they traveled and all of that. So I think about it now. He never did ask us. And I couldn't have gone even if he did ask us. But would I have liked it? Sure. Sure. Anything that had to do with it. Where didn't matter. That's it. The music started and I was off.
So it was a very sort of short period in your life that
A couple of years.
that you were dancing.
A couple of years.
Do you feel like it had any effect on the rest of your life, or was it something that you kind of?
It didn't have an effect, no. Just a wonderful memory. Wonderful. I smile when I think of it. So that's good. I'm glad about that. You know, I'm glad I had that time. I could have continued, I guess. But I'm glad I had the time that I did. And I think my partner, Harry, I think he stayed. And he continued to dance for a while. I lost touch entirely. I didn't want to go back a little bit and thought I'd make a clean break of it. And I did. And then my next life was good too. 2 lovely daughters and, you know, things were good. But I never forgot those couple of years at the Savoy. Never. And then I danced in the house all the time. And my husband would say, Ruthie, dance for me. So, dancing brought me a lot of joy. A lot of joy. I'm grateful. And that's about it. I don't know what else to tell you. But I'm sure you dance, so I'm sure you know what I mean. And I guess the others will tell you about the same. You spoke to Frankie?
Yeah.
Norma?
Yeah, we're gonna,
Yeah, she'll tell you the same. They were wonderful dancers.
So did you know Frankie and Norma then?
Did I know them?
Yeah.
Sure, when I started to dance for Whitey, I knew them.
Maybe you could just tell me about meeting Frankie first time, if you remember when.
It's not Frank. We were never introduced. You didn't shake hands. There was nothing formal like that. You just were thrown into the same situation, and there you were dancing, and that's it. But, you know, I don't know. It was a good time.
Maybe you could just tell me a little bit more about the Savoy. Maybe just describe it to me a little bit. Just again, I've seen a few pictures, but I don't really know very much.
It was a large ballroom. They had tables and chairs all around. They had 2 bandstands, and they played continuously. When the second one stopped, the other one started. There was music every single minute. And you know the bands that were there. You know, Benny Goodman and Count Basie and Chick Webb was there all the time, and Erskine Hawkins, and I can't even remember the bands that were there. And so the music was swinging all the time. There were no waltzes and things like that. The place was, as they say, the joint is jumping. That's it. The joint was jumping. But in a good way. You know, if there were drugs, I surely was not aware of it. I don't think it was prominent at that time. I think maybe it was marijuana, maybe. But, and what is there to say about a ballroom? Go there's plenty of room for dancing. The music is great. Kids are friendly. You all have the same love of what you're doing. That brings you close together immediately. You have a bond. Even people, white people would come up there Saturday nights, and stars, actresses and things, they'd come to watch the kids dancing. And they'd sit at one of the tables. That was exciting too. Oh, the kids would even jump higher for those people. It was a great place to go to, just great. They made a mistake to knock it down. All of us are very sad about that. But so it is. I wish it were there now, and then you could go, and then you'd say, now I know what she was talking about. So, it was lovely.
Great. Great. Well, thank you so much for talking to us.
Oh, my pleasure. Anytime I talk about it, it brings back such wonderful memories that I love it.
It's amazing.
When can I see you dance?
I'll be out this weekend.
You'll be there?
Coming to the event?
You'll be there?
Yeah, I'll be.
Are you going to be dancing? They said they're going to have the kids dancing again.
Yeah, I'll be dancing a little bit. We since I've been working on this, so we haven't really had a chance to put together a routine. But I think we're going to try to do a little performance of just kind of, it's going to be bad.
So how many kids are there going to be?
There's going to be a bunch of kids that I'm performing with. There'll be about, I think 6 or maybe 8 other people. 6 other
Couples?
People. Yeah, couples. So probably about 4 couples.
Okay, like they had for the Count Basie thing.
Yeah. But there'll be a bunch of people out dancing. A bunch of kids out dancing.
No, I mean sort of a specialty thing.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
That, right. And you're going to be one of those.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be watching.
Oh, I hope it'll let you down.
No, I don't think you will. I don't think you will. I'm glad you came.
Well, thank you so much.
I don't know, really, there's not much that I could say except the love that I had for it and the wonderful memories that I have. And I say it over and over again, but it's true. It's really true. Is he finished?
No, you were still talking.
He's really not?
No, you were just talking.
Actually, maybe you could just describe to me like one night. Do you remember? Are there any dances that kind of stand out to you that you've seen?
Dancers?
Danced, or
You mean Lindy Hoppers or dancers on the stage?
Yeah, dancers. Either way, that have had an impact on your dancing or on you.
Well, Lindy Hoppers, you know, the best of the lot was Leon and Frankie and Al Mins. I think maybe that was my favorite.
What did you like about Al?
I only saw him on tape. I never met him, oddly enough. But what I saw on tape, I think was a wonderful dancer. Remember the Charleston Terry that he did? Wonderful dancer. Oh, there were so many. I can't remember them all now.
Were there any specific nights that stayed with you? Any like specific sort of moments or dances that you?
Well, we loved Saturday night because that's when all the kids sat on the floor, made a big circle, and that's when they had the Lindy Hop contest. So that was great. You know, you go out one couple at a time, and they'd pick a winner. I told you, the big prize was $10. We each got 5, but we had to give Whitey something. So imagine the big sum. I said we would have paid them. And every night was great, you know, every night. It was lovely. I'm sorry that you could not have been a part of it, that they don't have it now, and that you younger kids could go.